welcome to the 9642 Podcast. This is your host, Mr. Number 9.
And this is The Fool.
This is where me and The Fool give our
Unqualified and unrequested.
ramblings on the various issues in the world of sport.
Or something like that.
Hello, everyone. The Pahuda cows are blooming.
Yeah.
Everybody's Christmas trees are up, and
Yeah.
some of you have even gotten around to decorating them, depending on how impatient / organized you are. And yeah, it is Christmas in December.
Woo!
Also, other general Christmas. We are going to do our annual review of the festive fixtures.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if we have time, review a few interesting cases here and there who are outside the top 6 and technically are not in the relegation battle. Manchester United. And we'll look at the relegation battle and see how it's shaping out. At the top, we have Liverpool, who are in a commanding position. I think we're all pretty impressed with the run of form they've shown against some really good teams. And like, they've gotten the hard part of a lot of their fixture schedule out of the way. They've gotten City. They've taken Liverpool. You know, they've beaten Real Madrid. They've beaten Bayer Leverkusen, beaten Aston Villa. So a bunch of teams in the top 3 drew with, you know, like they've already faced a lot of their away rivals, and their Christmas fixture list as a result is pretty okay. Like, they have a game against Southampton for the Carabao Cup. This Thursday, followed by the Monday before Christmas they play Spurs. Then they play Leicester on the Friday after Boxing Day, the 27th, and they play West Ham on the 30th of December, followed by a 6th of Jan meeting with Manchester United. Very winnable. Because Manchester United, they're playing at home, so definitely very winnable. West Ham away is, while tricky, I think very doable with this team. Liverpool at home should be a walk-in. Spurs away, given how bad Spurs are playing right now, shouldn't be a problem, and Southampton away shouldn't be a problem either.
Yeah, you would think, but at the same time, like, Spurs are doing Spurs things, so who knows? Maybe
on
Spurs
paper,
wins?
though, I think Liverpool have a very easy schedule. They could potentially get all 12 points from their 4 Premier League fixtures. They're very winnable, and like I said, they should go ahead Carabao Cup against Southampton. Even if they lose, that's not such a big deal because, you know, Premier League and they're playing Champions League, right? So
exactly.
missing out on the Carabao Cup's not going to be that big a deal for them. And they're not facing an informed team in that lineup. You know, Manchester United, FA form, Spurs really FA form, and obviously Southampton bad, and Leicester not that good either.
And West Ham's down in 14th, so not the greatest. 1 point behind United.
Following on from Liverpool, like, I think Liverpool, this is the thing, if they get that 12 points, they're definitely champions-elect at that point of the Premier League. They're, you know, it's basically a victory parade till May. And they can focus even on the Champions League at that point. Like it would be an incredible debut season for Arne Slot, like, you know, Champions League, Premier League double, just like that.
Be crazy.
Why was this so hard, Jurgen? What? Why was this so hard? I've got your players. Like, the squad is almost unchanged.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So, looking at second place, we have Chelsea. Just as I predicted when they announced Maresca would be their coach, I said everybody would be calling him the new Guardiola. And they are, right now.
Hey, come on.
I look for figuring out how he was fired at the end of the season, like the plot thickens for me. You know it's gonna happen.
Somehow. Just the Chelsea way, right?
Yep. Now, so Chelsea are playing Brentford, which is a very, very tricky fixture, even though it's at home. Brentford are definitely thinking about doing well against rivals, and obviously Brentford are in that relegation battle, so they're definitely going to try their best. Chelsea should definitely smash Shamrock Rovers at home, no problems. For the Conference League.
I would think.
They play Everton away, which is a tricky fixture only because it's away at Goodison. Otherwise, Chelsea have definitely in far better form than Everton are right now. The tricky fixture really is playing Fulham. Fulham basically have a free hit. They don't look like they're necessarily gonna make it to the top 4 European spots, but they can still ruin somebody else's season. And
I mean, they're only 4 points off 4th, so it's not so bad for Fulham. I know what you're saying, though.
Yeah. It's very, very close in that middle area. If Chelsea play Ipswich Town away, Ipswich Town have not been good. That beat Spurs, who are not good, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But they have been playing a particular style, so they could get a point. So Chelsea have to be careful there. And then they're playing Crystal Palace away. So there's a bunch of they don't do much traveling. Bunch of home fixtures, and they're staying in London. I'm saying that the furthest they go out to is Ipswich, not really that far. So Chelsea, that's their advantage. The squad are young and confident. I mean, this is the thing, right? If they can get 8-9 points in that era, they're in. Like, they're probably gonna kind of secure second place at that point, because Arsenal have a much tougher fixture list than they do. Arsenal starting off their challenge with Carabao Cup against Crystal Palace at home, and then they go to Selhurst Park. Then they host Ipswich Town, and then they have Brentford away and Brighton away. So 2 direct rivals away, and you're going to 2 tough fixtures away, and obviously hosting Ipswich, that's okay, but then going away to Crystal Palace, a team that's trying to fight relegation. So definitely a tough run of fixtures for Arsenal.
Yeah, definite banana peels all through there. Crystal Palace at home, at Selhurst Park, as you said. Crystal Palace looking to get something out of that. So they're going to be fighting hard. Brentford and Brighton having great seasons, had great seasons the last few years, and it's away for Arsenal in both of those cases. So, getting points, that's not really easy. And they just drew 0-0 with Everton. Today, really. Our time. So, and they drew before that, so they haven't had the best of runs in the Premiership. So Arsenal, they've been doing much better than at not throwing things away than they have in past years. Okay. That extra level of trickiness, right, over Chelsea and over Liverpool.
Yeah, exactly. Liverpool have a very good fixture list over Christmas. As good as you can expect. Like, Christmas list is always hard.
Yeah.
You're not really going to expect 12 points, but Liverpool have a very theoretically do it, like, on paper.
Yeah.
And not... Arsenal have Nottingham Forest, who they've kind of picked up their form again.
Yeah. They had a little bit of a drop there.
Nottingham Forest, they've come right back up. Goals are not an issue for this team. They don't have the Carabao Cup fixture to worry about. They play Brentford away, which is a tough fixture, and then they host Spurs, who are in terrible form. They go to Everton. Everton are in form. Of course, those two teams are fighting relegation, so it is a tough fixture, but it's slightly less congested for them. Just 4 games versus 5, which is a big advantage, I think. And I think they get to host the toughest guys, which is Spurs.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I'm with you. I think they should get a decent amount of points out of that and still be in the hunt for a top 4 finish.
That second spot, there's a hunt for second, right?
Yeah.
First place, I think we can all agree, Liverpool, pole position. They need to make a mistake for anyone to catch them.
Yeah. The only benefit Chelsea catching them, that Liverpool have drawn the last 2 games. But they've still got a game against Everton that got postponed due to weather. So, Chelsea's got a game to play tomorrow. Good to take them up to then 2 points, but Liverpool's game in hand.
Yeah. Basically, Liverpool are in the pole position. Nottingham Forest are in a not bad position. Chelsea are in a pretty good position. Arsenal are in a slightly tricky position going into that fixture list. And the 5th place team, and if this seems to be more likely that we get an English team getting that legacy spot, just because Champions League at the moment they've been playing really well, and the new format I think will suit teams with big budgets like the Premier League sides.
Yeah.
So Champions League just making the second round. I'd expect all the English teams to make the second round with this sort of format.
Yeah. One would expect.
And then probably get to the round of 16 in quarters is where it gets a bit tricky. But even quarters is very likely.
Yeah.
I can't see Chelsea. I can't see Liverpool, Manchester City, Arsenal, Aston Villa. Of those 4 teams, I can't see at least 3 of them make it to the quarterfinal. And Chelsea should win the Conference League. They just should.
One would expect. But seem to be slipping it up.
And But the Europa League is where it is, because it's interesting because both Spurs and Manchester United need to win the Europa League, I think, to qualify for the Champions League.
Yeah.
Manchester United definitely, and it's almost certainly. So speaking of Manchester, looking at Manchester City, who are now 5th place.
And
having Nottingham Forest.
Having a horrible run of form.
A run of form and a very tricky run of fixtures given their run of form.
Yeah.
So they play Manchester United in tomorrow morning.
That's
as per time of recording.
Yeah.
And the Aston go to Aston Villa, but are still kind of in good form this season.
Yeah.
Manchester. Then they host Everton, which should be an easier fixture for them given they're hosting. But they've had bad results. Then they play Leicester away. Once again, on paper they should win, but they've had bad results. And then they host West Ham.
Yeah.
So any other year, I'd be like, this is such an easy fixture list for Manchester City.
Exactly.
But this is not any other year.
No. And not in a year where Manchester City have won 1 of their last 10 games. In a year where Tottenham has won more of Manchester City's last 10 games than Manchester.
Yeah.
It's crazy that the form they're in is just, yeah. They haven't won a game in 10 matches across all competitions.
Yeah. It's crazy. Imagine if Pep resigned.
That is crazy to think about as well.
And then Maresca becomes Manchester City manager. That's how Chelsea lose. That would be the most Chelsea thing ever.
Oh, I can't. Yeah, that would just be like, yep, that checks out. Peak Chelsea, we've reached it.
Because every other something like Xabi Alonso, nope, he stays loyal to the club and all that. But Maresca's already left Leicester to go to Chelsea, which is fair enough. That is a big jump.
Yeah.
But leaving Chelsea to go back to City, where he was assistant manager, that would be like...
That'd be crazy.
But even if there was a distraction, there would be enough that it might be a distraction and Chelsea might fire him.
Yeah, it could happen as well.
Because that happens. Or they leave by mutual consent at the end of the season.
Yeah. I can see that happening.
But yeah, because there's so much potentially could happen this season. Like,
yeah,
just with Manchester City being as bad as they are, as ridiculously bad as they are, they are in Manchester United form.
What I like about that is, they are still fifth.
Yeah.
They're so bad.
Of Manchester City. Yeah, the bad version of Manchester City is fifth.
Yeah.
Ironically, it's crazy because the rumor is that they're gonna get Paul Pogba.
That is crazy.
To play in that Rodri.
All right.
I'm just like, wait, what?
That's a weird rumor.
Technically, he's out of contract. He's out of contract at the moment because of the court case. But City could easily give him like a temporary contract.
Yeah.
Which is kind of a win-win for both parties, I guess. It's just that it's crazy that it might happen.
It is definitely crazy that it might happen. That is.
Yeah.
Just shocking, really, and. Be interesting if it happens. Like that could be anything. Like it's just a interesting concept. Like Pogba could do really well.
Imagine if Pogba. Imagine if Pogba leads City to the title.
I know, that's what I mean. Like it could be really awesome and then it'd just be crazy, or it could be bad. But I guess in the end, it's how much worse can... well, I guess they can get a lot worse, technically, but it is City, so...
Imagine, it could be... it could be irrelevant in the end because 115 plus charges. However that plays out.
Yeah.
Because if they get point deductions, if they get trophies taken away, if they get relegated to the National League, potentially anything's up there. I don't think any of those things were going to happen, except maybe points deductions.
Yeah.
But I think points deductions won't happen this season. They might be set up to be happening next season.
Yeah,
because they'll also appeal, right? So it won't be this season.
No, exactly. Might be like, it's going to be this season, then they appeal and they'll put it off. Yeah.
I'm going to ignore potential fines. If they might get a Euro ban, they might get a transfer ban as well.
Yeah.
For however long, but those are all within the realm of punishments. But points deductions are the big ones, and like maybe ban from Champions League for however many seasons.
Yeah.
I could get more than a 1-season ban from Europe, which would be a big deal.
That would definitely be a big deal if they got more than.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be quite crazy.
And if they got a transfer ban, but transfer ban, realistically, you can't do more than 2 windows. So, that's because otherwise that's a very draconian punishment.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it's almost better to be relegated than to have that, right?
Yeah.
So, because you're gonna lose so much in like resources. Like, recovering from 1 year transfer ban is already really hard, as Chelsea demonstrated.
Yeah.
That Frank Lampard season.
Yeah.
So I think those are all, I think, more realistic potential options if it does actually go against Manchester City.
Yeah.
Which it may not.
It may not.
Obviously.
I feel like it will, but you say what the outcomes of that.
There's too many charges. There's too many charges. Some of it has to stick. Not all of it is bullshit.
No, exactly. And I sort of expect there to be a semi-harsh punishment initially, and then it get appealed straight away, so it doesn't go into effect. And then after the appeals are all set through, it becomes a whole lot less. See how it goes.
I think relegation won't happen.
No.
I don't think title stuff will happen. Though, if the title get stripped, I do think what will happen is nobody else will be given those titles. It'll just be like, this is stripped. There's no champion for this year on the record books.
Maybe, yeah.
Like how they did with Juve with the Calciopoli scandal.
Oh right, yeah.
Calciopoli scandal. So there was no. So the year they got found out, they had won the league, but Inter was second. So they went, okay, Inter wins the league. But the 2 years before then, which they found out the match fixing issues, they basically went, Juve don't get any of these last, I think, 2 or 3 titles that they won, and they are not awarded to anybody else.
Yeah. They might do that. Well, they might strip them and award them, and then get appealed down to that or something.
That could potentially be. That I don't think is going to happen, but that is, how it might play out. Like, there is a precedent of something happening in football, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. Juve also got relegated. Let's be honest, if it is shown, it's very hard not to relegate them.
Yeah.
Because it's such a big thing, and if they're shown, and the EFL's rules are more strict than the Premier League's rules.
All right.
So if they are relegated, I think the EFL pretty much would put them to League One.
All right.
They might not relegate them at the EFL, but they would start at League One.
Right. Yeah.
Based on how their rules work, like if you have if you break salary cap and you've been shown to be misreporting, they're like automatically double relegation to League One.
Right,
yeah. They don't kick you out of the pyramid because I think technically the National League is when it's not a fully pro pyramid.
Yeah.
Part of the pyramid, so
I think National League is still. Maybe it's still semi-pro. Yeah, it's only semi-pro. I knew the parts of the pyramid below that were definitely semi-pro down to amateur. I remember with the National Conference League itself might have counted pro, but I think you're right, it's just pro, isn't it?
Yeah, it is semi-pro, and the basically with the EFL, if they follow their own rules, if Manchester City gets relegated and they're a member of the EFL, then the EFL potentially might come start from League One, and I think there is some precedent for that, so that is also on the table. I do think the Premier League will figure out a way to finagle City from being in the from City being relegated, just because there's such an important part of the Premier League.
Yeah.
But then, like, Juve are such a big part of Serie A, and Serie A did do what they did, so. But, we're talking much different landscape to back then.
Yeah,
exactly. The amount of money in play now is a lot more.
Yeah.
And you're kind of accusing the head of state of UAE of committing fraud.
Yeah.
And the UK, it's something. There's lots of things that prevent it from going down that route. You would think.
You'd think.
So I do think maybe Euroban very realistic, and points deductions definitely. If at least the very very big ones, if they're shown to be that Manchester City did any sort of misrepresenting how they did their earnings, then there will be points deductions.
Yeah, exactly.
At least.
Yeah.
Now, moving on from Manchester City, the sixth place team to round out the top six, we have Aston Villa, who just lost to Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
They play City on next Sunday. Then they play Newcastle away at St James Park on the 27th. They play Brighton at home on New Year's Eve, and on the 5th of Jan they play Leicester at home. So while that's a local derby, I think Leicester at home should be winnable fixture, and Brighton, that's a tough, that's a fighting for fourth place stuff.
Yeah.
Newcastle away is always hard, and they're kind of hitting some form at the moment. Yes. And Aston Villa playing against Manchester City. This is, that's a decider for top four stuff happening right now.
Yeah. I say that's definite litmus test for both Villa and City's season, right? Aston Villa hosting City at home, and City's on a pretty poor run of form. Aston Villa want to be fighting for that top four. That's sort of almost a must-win, and a City team that might be a bit down and out as well. So I think they should win that one, but it is Manchester City, so who knows? They can snap out of their slump at any time.
Yeah. We've seen Manchester City start games looking like $1 million, and it's not how they start, right? Manchester City's issue is how they finish games.
Yeah, exactly. I'd expect Aston Villa to win it still, and at home, doing everything, but I think it's a bit of a litmus test for both those teams. Right. Especially,
absolutely.
Aston Villa's just come off a loss to Nottingham Forest, which was also a late comeback for Forest. The latest 87th minute? 8th?
Yeah.
87th minute. And Forest, Villa was 1-0 up, and Forest scored their first goal in the 87th in 90th plus. Latest Aston Villa's ever given away a 1-0 lead. Been in lead by 1 goal, given it away to lose it. Latest game. That is, that is something that's obviously a bit of morale dent. Giving it away so late. Looked
absolutely
decent having there, and then just having that taken away. Also, I think the first time the 90th that Nottingham Forest had a goal scored by two. Assist and goal by substitutes would go down. In the Premier League, I should say. First time in the Premier League at that.
Yeah.
Nice. There was large chunks of that time when they're not in the Premier League. Substitute took the corner, and the substitute hit it. At least we didn't get out of that, get the things that the Wolves game had, but
yeah. It's a rough season for all those clubs.
Yeah.
Now, for my own sake, we'll look at Manchester United's fixtures. Now, they're well out of European contention. And like I said, I think they need to win the Europa League if they want to finish up in a European in Europe next season.
Yeah.
Which maybe they don't want to.
They're what? 5? They're only like 5 points off with a game to play. I mean, I suppose Brighton's still going to play the game. Bournemouth game, Brighton play their game. Tottenham's still going to play the game. So, plenty of teams above them, just above them. They're on 19 points with Brighton in 7th, 4 points. It's just a few games to rekindle their spark. They might take a good win tomorrow. Going to Etihad, play City.
Yeah.
In the bad form that they're in, could be a turning point for you.
Yeah, well, Ruben Amorim did beat City 4-0 with the Sporting Lisbon side earlier in the season. We're definitely not expecting that. No further ado, they obviously play Manchester City in a few hours. They play Spurs on the 20th of December in the Carabao Cup. Once again, not that important, but Manchester United might be getting a cup win for either of these clubs is important because they need to get to Europe.
Yeah.
Then they host Bournemouth, who they have a very poor record against. Manchester United do.
Yeah.
They play away at Wolves, once again, a fixture Manchester United traditionally not that good at. Host Newcastle at home on New Year's Eve. That's a fixture Manchester United like to do, playing Newcastle around Christmas time. And Liverpool on the 6th of Jan at Anfield.
Yeah.
That's a very tough run of fixtures for Manchester United. So as long as I think Ruben Amorim would be happy to get more than 6 points from that run of fixtures.
Yeah. Same time, I think there's a decent chance of that. Newcastle playing 31st at home. Newcastle's also not in the greatest run of form at the moment. Pretty much.
Yep.
Well, they're 23 points, so...
Yeah, and they're playing Wolves before the window opens, and all their players that are going to rescue them out of relegation are available.
Exactly.
So maybe.
Exactly, and at the moment Wolves are just not doing very well, so good opportunity there.
Yeah.
Bournemouth's at home as well. At least that's at home, so that's a good chance, and we're keeping Manchester United within the European spots race in general.
Yeah.
That's a 6-pointer in that, right? For AFC, Bournemouth are only 8th, equal with Brighton and Albion. Fulham, so win that takes United up to 2 points. Bournemouth at that point. That changes things a lot. A good win overnight against in the final round is where they could shoot them up again. So, those are important games, right? They're the Bournemouth games at home, so Newcastle games, both potentially super important in that race for Europeans. And you say Carabao Cup,
absolutely
also important. And make a good run in that. Maybe that's a cup win. It's silverware in the cupboard and spot in the Europa League next year. Not the Champions League, but at least it's Europe.
No, I believe Carabao Cup winner
from
next season onward are in the Conference League.
Yes.
If they do not qualify for any other way.
Yeah.
So they go into the Conference League. Yeah. But if Manchester United were to win the Carabao Cup and finish outside the top 7, then whoever finishes 7th will not get to Conference League. They won't have European football.
Won't have European.
So technically, only because even with a legacy spot, there's only one spot automatically guaranteed at sixth place. Oh, I guess sixth place would get the Europa League spot, and seventh place would get the Europa League spot if there was legacy. But if there wasn't a legacy spot, then yeah, it would be fifth and sixth go to Europa, and
assuming the FA Cup didn't
seventh.
get one outside the top 4.
Yeah. That's true, which is also possible.
Also possible.
So fifth is the only one guaranteed a Europa spot at least.
Yeah.
And if there's obviously if there's legacy and all that, then potentially even finishing 8th could get you into the Conference League.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on where everything falls. I think in reality, top 5 are the only ones from a positional point of view guaranteed in Europe in some way. Cups might take others out. You say.
Yeah.
But legacies, where the cups fall out. We'll expand that quite far out.
Yeah. That's not even taking into account potentially winning European.
Yeah, exactly.
The European title, right?
Yeah.
Like Man City could finish outside the top 6, quote unquote, and win Champions League.
Yeah.
That's entirely plausible as a outcome of their season, right?
It is a possible outcome, yeah. So say the Champions League's form at the moment is just as dire as probably more dire than Premier League form. At the moment they're sitting 22nd in the Champions League table at the moment. So any worse at the moment, they're in danger of actually not making the next round.
That is true, but if they could somehow sneak through.
Yeah, I mean, there's still games to be played. Actually, PSG's outside that. They're 25th at the moment. One's just outside the next round.
Yeah.
That's crazy as well.
Yeah, there's definitely some shock results with how the Champions League table's playing out.
Yeah.
But also potentially like Aston Villa could win the Champions League and finish outside the top 6, right?
Yeah,
That's also very plausible. And Aston Villa is actually in good European form at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And if that happens, it's even more teams. And I think England is guaranteed to have at least 2 teams in the Europa League and at least 1 team in the Conference League.
Yeah.
At a minimum.
Yes.
Also, it's irrelevant because Chelsea, in theory, should finish in the top 4. But the, Conference League, if Chelsea wins it, if they were somehow outside the top 6, they would be, qualifying for a Europa League spot. A 3rd Europa League spot for an English team.
Yeah. Yeah, if they end up outside that. Top 5 or top
outside
6.
The Europeans.
Yeah.
Outside of European qualification is somehow Europa League qualification and Conference League qualification as well.
Yeah, exactly. I was just looking, by the way.
Somehow.
And there's a good chance one of City or PSG don't make it. They've got to play next round's not until the end of Jan, but they've got to play each other Jan around there. And then they both play one more game after that. The game after that is against slightly lesser team. PSG's got to play Stuttgart, currently just below them.
Yeah.
Table, and City's got to play Club Brugge. Those last games may just sneak them in, but Leipzig's all down in 34th. Won anything yet in the Champions League? They're actually
having
out.
A bad season in Europe.
Yeah, that means they're out actually. Games there? They're out.
And there's no second chance in the Europa League these days, so you're out.
Out. Done.
Which I think is good.
Yeah.
you know, if we were to go to the bottom end of the fixtures, we've got currently in the relegation spots Southampton at bottom with 5 points, 1 win. Wolves with 2 wins and 9 points, and Ipswich with 2 wins and 12 points.
Yeah.
And I will Ipswich, those 3-point gap between Wolves and Ipswich is actually like almost a 5-point gap in how good Ipswich look as a team. And like there's actually an idea and an identity. They just don't have good enough players. And it's not even like that their approach is naive, because they're playing quite defensive and like a solid block and being like conservative with their attack. It's just that their players are not good enough, which is fine. Like they're a newly promoted side. Like that's normal. Like you know what I mean? Like it's not the manager's fault. It's not really the player fault either. That Ipswich are in the relegation spot. Whereas and Southampton to a degree are kind of in a similar situation. Like the players are just not good enough, and they're very married to a style.
Yeah.
Because I think they want to very much quickly go back in once they get relegated again. Because I think Southampton are definitely getting relegated, right?
Yeah, I don't see them.
Almost certainly.
Almost certainly. I mean, maybe the greatest of great escapes for them, but it seems unlikely at this point. Wolves also seem like they might be going down too. Let's just say if they get saved with the January transfer window.
This is the thing. Any other team from Wolves, I would go, they're relegated. Looking at their map. If it's Wolverhampton Wanderers, I'm like, oh yeah, they're going to play incredible after January.
Yeah.
Somehow. A bunch of new players. And they'll finish like 12th. And you'll go, how did we think this team was going to be relegated?
I'll try to remember there were 9 points coming into Christmas.
But the thing is, assuming Wolves don't get relegated, looking above them, Ipswich Town, like I said, they've looked a pretty decent side. Crystal Palace are just a point ahead, but they do have a game in hand. I will also point out Southampton have a game in hand, being 4 points behind Wolves. And
that game
Leicester
is against
City
Tottenham.
are on 14 points. Yeah.
So maybe give them the 3 points?
Yeah, maybe.
Given how Spurs are playing.
And then Everton... Exactly. And then you've got Everton with a game in hand on 15 points, just a point ahead of Leicester. Like, these are the teams I think of are in the relegation zone. I think West Ham are okay. Because they have the same amount of games as Everton and a 3-point buffer.
Yeah, and that Everton game in hand is the postponed game against Liverpool. So,
right.
That could go to PVR. That could go either way.
Depending on the time of the year they play it. Exactly. Depending on the time of year it's played.
Exactly.
It could be a very hard game or a game that Liverpool don't care about.
Yeah, exactly. It is at Goodison Park, so that gives potentially a little bit more sway over to the Everton side of the ledger. But you say it depends when that gets rearranged. And it's a derby game, right? It's always firing, always could do it. But Everton, they just overnight, last night, they did manage to pull off a wonderful draw against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Arsenal did a lot of Arsenal things and didn't score a goal.
Exactly. I don't think Everton are getting relegated. Let me just put it out there. I think we have I think Leicester are vulnerable, especially if Wolves are a team that's gonna put out of the relegation zone. Ipswich feel like a team that might be better in the second half of the season. Once they're now used to the pace of the Premier League. Like they have been getting better and better as the season's gone on, I think. Crystal Palace really need the January window. Depends. Is going to be because Leicester. I know Leicester. We know probably are not going to buy too many players. Neither are Ipswich. Neither are Southampton. But Wolves and Crystal Palace definitely will, and potentially so will Everton.
Yeah.
If they're allowed to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that is the situation I think we're at. But let's quickly look through their fixtures. So Southampton, as you said, they've got Spurs, so that might be 3 points in the bag. Then they've got Liverpool, which is probably a loss. They
In the Carabao Cup,
play... Yeah, and then they play Fulham at the Cottage. They they host West Ham, and then they go to Sellers Park to play Crystal Palace, and then they host Brentford. Not easy fixtures for them. And these are teams that are kind of like the teams that they'll lose to, like Brentford, are kind of no nonsense. They just put teams like Southampton away. Ditto Fulham.
Yeah.
And Liverpool, for that matter, and then you've got teams like West Ham who are in mixed form. You know, Southampton might get a point there, maybe 3 points.
Maybe they did at home, so maybe.
Yeah, and then Crystal Palace away, maybe.
That's
so.
That is a key game, though, right? Like Crystal Palace is. Once again, that's before any new players come in. Palace is likely to be buying players in, possibly have a better second half, but Southampton grabs those points now. That's helpful. It keeps Crystal Palace, down at the bottom or near the bottom, so that makes that extra pressure on, right? Even if you get players in, you still got to get the points. So that's the extra 3 points they have to get. That's harder again, right?
Yeah. All bets are off though if Crystal Palace fire Ole Glasner and Roy comes back.
Yeah, that's
to be caretaker manager till the end of the season. Like then like Crystal Palace are not being relegated and they're gonna like suddenly, even if they get no players, like everybody's just gonna be like, oh, Grandpa's back. We can't lose when he's here.
Yeah,
He'll
exactly.
cry.
He'll cry.
And they're like, no. We have to play properly now.
Exactly.
I mean, there's limited use of this thing, but it always works for Crystal Palace somehow. Like, this is why it's hard to determine how they'll do, but like I said, I don't think they'll be relegated. Looking at the fixture list of Wolves, they only have 3 games before the January window. They play Wolves, they play Leicester, which is a relegation 6-pointer.
Yeah.
They play Manchester United at home, once again, a fixture they're famously good at around this time of year. And then they play Spurs away, which is, once again, Spurs are in pretty terrible form.
Yeah.
So,
who knows?
Wolves, pretty okay. Like, they have it's kind of like we have a bit of our fate in our own hands. If they can somehow get a win against Leicester, they could go on a run.
Yeah.
And then, like, they play Nottingham Forest in the 7th of Jan. At that point, they should probably have 20 new players at the club.
Yeah.
On loan from Portugal.
Yeah.
But yeah. And then they'll make it out somehow.
Yeah.
But all jokes aside, even if that doesn't happen, it's in the fixture list. Wolves can make it out.
Yeah.
Because this era, like, their rivals have a very congested fixture list, and theirs is relatively relatively sparse in respect.
The only thing that might count against them was the game overnight. That was a pretty brutal loss to Ipswich Town. Last minute winner for Ipswich.
Yeah.
There were some scene afterwards. could still have some ongoing impacts. Have to see.
Yeah.
So that all, who knows how that impacts everything going forward as well, so that could change things up for them. Okay, the Leicester City next. That's another relegation fight. They can pull themselves through that. Might be okay running through the... Right, that's sort of as a weather vane for the rest of the Christmas period, right?
Yeah.
Play well,
Yeah.
go to Leicester, play well. Probably will put them in the right frame of mind for the rest of the... They're still in a sort of a bit of a bad mood about it all, and it doesn't go well. Then maybe that pushes things the other way.
Obviously, suspensions might happen too.
Yeah. That all matters. Like, what happens there definitely going to impact those games against United and Tottenham. Both United and Tottenham aren't in the best of form. Wolves also isn't, but they've got something to fight for. So if they're in the right frame of mind, they could definitely get out of both of those.
Absolutely.
And win against Leicester, and then even 2 draws, that's 5 points out of the 4. Will they be happy?
Yep.
Without even
Definitely be happy.
Without even worrying about whatever happens at Nottingham Forest.
Yeah. Exactly. And like they can even look at Crystal Palace and say, you can have your Roy Hodgson. We're still somehow not going to get relegated.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the final team, the Tractor Boys, in that bottom 3, we've got Ipswich Town, have a very tough schedule. So they play Newcastle at home. Newcastle obviously good form at the moment, though Ipswich arguably also in good form. Then they play Arsenal at the Emirates.
Ooh.
Then they host Chelsea, and then they go to the Cottage to play Fulham.
Yeah, that's not nice for Ipswich Town, is it?
But potentially, if they could get a draw at home, maybe against Newcastle or Chelsea. Kind of Arsenal are a team that can banana peel, but not at Emirates, I wouldn't think. And then obviously Fulham are a very good team this season, so it's a tough fixture. This is a very, very tough fixture. The only thing is they only have the 4 games.
Yeah.
So hopefully they can keep their players fresh. Ipswich, I don't know if they will buy players, but they might. Because the product is good enough that if they stay in the Premier League this season, there's a lot to build on with Paul McKenna's team and his setup at Ipswich. If they manage, because spending the money now to stay in the league is probably better than yo-yoing, I think.
Potentially, yeah.
And even if they were potentially, like, if they get 2 home draws, lose to Arsenal, fine, then their owners might go, let's splash the checkbook a bit.
Yeah.
Why not?
You say they're not that far off staying up, so definitely a possibility. Right, they're on 12 points.
Yeah.
The Palace is on 13 points with a game in hand, but still Leicester's on 14 points. Definitely something that could happen. Open the checkbook. Players in.
Yeah.
Who knows how it goes from there?
Exactly. So I think let's do our final predictions over for the season. I think. What do we think? Liverpool most likely to win. Do we think? Agreed. What's your top 4?
I think Liverpool, yes, top. I think Chelsea's going to potentially look like we're pushing them. Arsenal, but I don't quite keep up with them. I'll put Chelsea second, Arsenal third. Fourth, going to be interesting. In fact, just because I like Nottingham Forest, I'm going to leave them there. So I think the top 4 we have at the moment will be...
That's what I was going to say as well.
It's mostly because I like Nottingham Forest, so I was like, I'm not going to... I could see City, City, they are likely to pull some form around, climb up, so...
Yeah.
Aston Villa is very good as well, and likely pull some form and climb up as well, so... just Nottingham Forest have just made it through nearly half the season and just absolutely flying. I feel like that's just going to buoy them all the way through. And even though like it's going to be a tight fight for that fourth, I just want them to do it. So I'm going to leave them there.
Exactly. And look, we want Chris Wood to be getting into the Champions League, right?
Exactly.
He's a Champions League level striker.
Exactly.
And the relegation. What's your final three?
I think Southampton's gone.
Yep. Agreed.
I think Ipswich is also going to go. I know they're going to fight, but I feel like they're going to end on the wrong side of that bit.
I think you're right. Only because I think Ipswich are not going to heavily recruit. They're going to get players who are... If they get players, it'll be cover for injuries and like players who will be okay for them in the championship next season. And
then the last one I'm going to leave is Wolves, because I think like it's going to be between Wolves and Leicester. As you say, Wolves are going to get players in, and they're going to somehow get better. But I feel like there's going to be a fight there between Leicester and Wolves. I feel like with both Leicester and Crystal Palace have got 4 and 5 points on Wolves already, and I feel like that the three of them are going to be fighting, and that point differential be the thing that sees Wolves go down in the end. Like three of them will do well in the get players in, do well at 5 points. Just they won't be able to pull it back.
Yeah. It's very tough to see how it goes. I think Wolves, while they do have a very interesting Christmas fixture list, they're in terrible form and bad morale. I think Everton, Leicester just seem to always be well run.
Yeah.
Like even in the relegation season. And they came straight back into the Premiership very quickly, and despite having to change measures, I think they will in the end stay up. So I am picking Southampton as well. I think Wolves, it's too much. You kept trying this trick for too long, and I think Ipswich Town will get relegated because whatever happens, we know Grandpa Hodgson will come and help Crystal Palace, even if they start playing really badly. And they have to fire over Glasner.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for listening, and we hope to catch you all next time.
Catch you next time.
Well, that is the end. Thanks for listening all the way through.
If you liked what you heard, we have even more. NineSixFourTwo Discord and a Buy Me a Coffee.
Pretty sure it's Buy Me a Beer.
Oh yeah, buy me a beer on buymeacoffee.com.
In both these places, you can talk to us, and we may even listen, especially if you do buy a said beer or coffee. I might still be confused.
Yes, we're easily bribed. All links are in the show notes below.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
This is on YouTube.